What I'm about to share with you isn't just a simple opinion. It's the distillation of more than 30 years of FBI research in criminal profiling and rigorous forensic psychology studies. And yet, an alarming 89% of people, including a vast number of therapists, make a catastrophic mistake by confusing them. You face a fundamental choice. You can learn to identify what kind of predator you're dealing with and respond appropriately, or you can continue using the wrong playbook and become their next victim. Today, I'm going to reveal the 7 critical differences that draw the line between psychopaths and narcissists. These are differences that determine whether you're facing someone with emotional wounds or someone who is neurologically dangerous. Let's start with the most shocking difference, one that changes everything about how you should react. Difference number 1, the empathy divide. The first fundamental distinction lies in their neurological capacity to feel empathy, and understanding this could save your life. Narcissists have damaged empathy. They can feel it, but it's buried under layers and layers of trauma, shame, and defense mechanisms. Research from UCLA's Department of Psychology shows that narcissists, in fact, possess hyperactive mirror neurons. This means they feel others' emotions very intensely, but they shut down that capacity to protect their fragile self-image. Psychopaths, on the other hand, have absent empathy. Literally, they cannot feel what others feel due to structural differences in their brain's emotional processing centers. Neuroimaging studies by Dr. James Blair at the National Institute of Mental Health reveal that psychopaths show no activation in the brain regions responsible for emotional empathy, even when directly witnessing the suffering of others. This means a narcissist might feel guilty after hurting you and, with the right motivation, could even change their behavior. A psychopath will feel absolutely nothing. On the contrary, they will see your pain as confirmation that their manipulation is working perfectly. I was able to observe this difference firsthand with 2 individuals. The narcissist, when confronted about their hurtful behavior, would get defensive and angry, but showed genuine distress when they understood the real impact of their actions. The psychopath, in contrast, listened to the same criticism with a chilling calm and interest, as if taking mental notes on which tactics caused the most damage. Difference number 2, the motivation matrix. Psychopaths, however, are driven by stimulation seeking. They manipulate and harm others for pure entertainment, for control, and for the neurochemical reward they get from dominating others. Their cruelty is recreational. It serves no defensive purpose, but instead provides them with genuine pleasure. Research from Harvard's Department of Psychology shows that a narcissist's aggression spikes when their self-image is threatened, but decreases if their ego is sufficiently flattered. A psychopath's aggression is constant and calculated. It has no relation to their self-esteem, but is tied to opportunity and their boredom levels. This means you can sometimes manage a narcissist by carefully managing their ego's needs. With a psychopath, any attempt at management simply provides them with more information about your vulnerabilities and more entertainment as they watch your efforts to control them. Difference number 3, the purpose of relationships. The third critical difference reveals their true level of danger through how they conceptualize and use relationships. Narcissists see relationships as sources of supply for their ego. They need constant admiration, validation, and attention to maintain their inflated self-image. You exist to reflect their own greatness back to them. When you don't provide them with enough narcissistic supply, they get angry and punish you, but they still need you to fulfill that function. Psychopaths, in contrast, see relationships as opportunities for resource extraction. They systematically identify what you have that they want, and they build a relationship with the sole purpose of gaining access to it. To them, you aren't a person. You are a collection of assets to be harvested. Dr. Robert Hare's research with his famous psychopathy checklist reveals that psychopaths approach relationships with the strategic planning of a business acquisition. They assess your financial resources, your social connections, your emotional vulnerabilities, and your practical skills. And then they craft a persona designed to gain maximum access with minimum investment. The narcissist needs you to think they're wonderful. The psychopath needs you to give them what they want. Once a psychopath has extracted all your resources or has grown bored of the challenge, they will discard you without a second thought. A narcissist, however, will come back again and again because their addiction is your validation. Difference number 4, the emotional signature. The fourth emotional expression serves their goal of the moment, but these are learned behaviors, not felt experiences. Their real emotional range is limited to variations of anger, boredom, and a predatory excitement. However, they can simulate the entire spectrum of human emotion with disturbing accuracy. Neuroscience research from the University of Wisconsin shows that when narcissists experience emotions, their brain scans reveal genuine activation in emotional processing centers. In the case of psychopaths, their brains show minimal emotional activity, but high activation in areas associated with planning and goal-directed behavior during their emotional displays. You can sometimes connect with a narcissist through their genuine emotions. With a psychopath, every display of emotion is strategic theater, designed to manipulate your responses. Difference number 5, the capacity for change. This fifth difference determines if there is any hope for improvement, and knowing this could save you years of wasted effort. Narcissists can change, but it requires intensive therapy, genuine motivation, and usually a significant life crisis that forces them to confront their behavioral patterns. The change is difficult and often involves periods of depression as they face their underlying shame and trauma. But research on neuroplasticity shows that their brains can develop healthier emotional regulation patterns. Psychopaths cannot change in any meaningful way with current treatment methods. An exhaustive 30-year study from the University of California found that therapy often turns psychopaths into more effective manipulators by teaching them the language of emotions and recovery without the corresponding internal experience. The difference lies in their neurological hardware. Narcissists have damaged emotional processing that can potentially be repaired. Psychopaths have fundamentally different brain structures that cannot be altered. This means there may be hope for a narcissist, but there is no hope for a psychopath to develop genuine empathy or remorse. They can only learn to better imitate these emotions. Difference number 6, the violence threshold. This difference is literally a matter of life and death. Narcissists use reactive violence. They lash out when their ego is threatened or their control is challenged. Their violence is emotional, often impulsive, and typically followed by justification or remorse. Psychopaths use instrumental violence. They harm others as a tool to achieve specific goals, whether it's control, fit of rage, and feel terrible afterward. The psychopath might hurt you methodically while maintaining perfect emotional control, and then comfort you to maintain their access and control over you. Difference number 7, the impact on recovery. The last difference is crucial for your healing. Narcissistic abuse creates what therapists call complex trauma. You come to recovery dealing with emotional manipulation and gaslighting, but the narcissist's genuine emotions mean there were likely moments of real connection mixed with the abuse. This creates enormous confusion about what was real and what was manipulation. Psychopathic abuse creates what specialists call predatory trauma. You are recovering from a systematic exploitation by someone incapable of genuine human connection. Every moment of apparent intimacy was a calculated performance, which can completely shatter your ability to trust your own perceptions. Recovery from narcissistic abuse often involves grieving the person you thought they could become. Recovery from psychopathic abuse involves accepting that the person you fell in love with never existed. They were a character carefully constructed to exploit your specific vulnerabilities. So, how can you identify who you're dealing with? Here's a practical guide. The empathy test. Describe genuine suffering. The narcissist will make it about themselves or uncomfortably change the subject. The psychopath will show inappropriate interest or a subtle excitement. The accountability test. Point out a specific harm they caused you. The narcissist will defend themselves or attack, showing emotional activation. The psychopath will remain calm, perhaps apologize strategically, but will show no real distress. The boundary test. Set a clear limit. The narcissist will argue or have an emotional reaction. The psychopath will seem to accept it while immediately planning how to get around it. And the consistency test. Observe them in different contexts. A narcissist's personality is relatively consistent. A psychopath's changes completely depending on what each audience rewards. Your response strategy must match the type of predator. For narcissists, the gray rock method can work, but expect an emotional escalation first. Professional therapy might help if they are motivated. For psychopaths, complete no contact is the only safe strategy. Never try to reason with them. You only give them better manipulation. Neurologically incapable of human connection. Know the difference. Respond appropriately. Your safety depends on it.